Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech, and today we are going to be looking at the Motorola Moto G5S. Of course, I have a couple of other devices here on the table as well, just as some comparisons. I would consider these obviously flagship devices. I have the iPhone 10 over here, and then the Pixel 2 XL. And so these are, expensive phones. This is a non-expensive phone. So I want to kind of look at this device, obviously, but where it kind of makes sense, where this phone actually shines, I want to compare it against these other devices. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of set them off to the side for the moment while we talk a little bit about this Motorola phone. So this is the S version, the slightly more expensive version, but still extremely inexpensive phone. It has dual cameras. These are dual 13 megapixel cameras on the back with a dual tone flash, and the camera does a pretty decent job. It did kind of struggle a little bit in low light. That's something that I kind of expected. What's interesting here is that the dual camera doesn't necessarily work, or at least I don't even know if it works in the same way as some of these other phones where you can kind of tell that you're going into the secondary camera. Now, of course, the Pixel 2 doesn't have two cameras. It apparently doesn't need them to achieve what it does. It does everything in software, and I think that this Motorola phone does a lot in software with the processing of its photo as well. It has a depth mode, which is kind of like a portrait mode in a sense, where when you take a photo, it's going to blur out the background, and you can actually see that live. And I believe that you can probably see that live because it does have the dual cameras. It doesn't have to process it afterwards. It does do some processing, it seems, because you take the photo and then, you see the processed photo looks a little bit better than the live view. But nonetheless, it does a decent job. It's not the best, but hello, this is a cheap phone in cost comparison to these other phones. So the back shooter is pretty decent. The front-facing camera is not too bad as far as a selfie camera goes. It does a decent job. There is no really good image stabilization here. It just has some digital stabilization that you can do when you are shooting video and you're shooting at 1080. This does go all the way up to 4K. It'll do 4K video at 30 frames a second, but it will do HD video at 60 frames per second, which is pretty cool. It also has a slow motion mode. The slow motion mode is a little noisy, so you can shoot up to 4K. I'm showing you just a little 4K clip that I shot really quick. What I like to check with these cameras is how well the camera will automatically shift from maybe darker scenes to brighter scenes. This camera does have a pro mode, so you can professionally adjust the shutter speed, the ISO, and the white balance, and even go into a manual focus mode. But nonetheless, that's not something that everybody uses. Automatic mode is kind of where it's at. So let me just show you a little bit about the camera UI here. So in the main camera UI, you have a night photography mode, which is going to go ahead and give you maybe a little bit better chance of getting a decent photo at night. You have your timer. You can set the flash to be automatic, on, off. You also have HDR camera mode. In the top right-hand corner here, we have our camera modes. We have our regular camera, panoramic, we have the depth photo, and then we have professional camera mode. If we go into professional camera mode, you can see here we get all of the icons that allow us to make changes if we tap on those. What's cool is they're really easy to use, especially if you are single-handed, and then you can bring all of them out at once and just swipe between them and go in, manually adjust your camera exposure, whatever it is that you want to set to get that better picture. Obviously, with pretty much any camera out there, manual mode or the pro mode is going to help you get a better image. Switching into video mode is just as simple as tapping on that video. Then, of course, we can switch right back to camera mode. Down here we have the switches between front and rear facing camera. Swipe over from this side and you're going to get your settings. We can go in and change our save location. Maybe you put a SD card in the side of this phone to save photos there. You can tap anywhere on the screen, add the assistive grid, change your video resolution. You can see here we've got that 4K Ultra HD 30 frames per second or full HD at 30 or 60. So pretty cool indeed there. These days I just shoot 4K because, these phones, it's great to have the bigger resolution, but you're not going to get as much of steady shot if you're shooting in 4K. Notice that in 4K, I don't even have a steady shot option over here. So let's go ahead and swipe and go into our HD. And you'll see HD, I get that option. And if I tap on this and turn it on, it zooms in just a little bit. Basically, it's zooming in and it's digitally stabilizing because the cameras don't have any optical stabilization. So anyways, that's a lot about the camera. Like I said, I think the camera is a super big, important part of a phone like this. So let's talk about the rest of what the phone has to offer. So over here on the side, we have our SIM tray, which also accepts an SD card. So you could put an SD card in there for additional storage. I believe this is a 32 gig model, but even then, if you take a lot of photos and videos, you're definitely going to want to have an SD card in there so that you can expand that storage. It does use Google Photos by default. So Google Photos gives you that unlimited free backup for high resolution images. So you can just, use that feature in there to free up space whenever you obviously want to free up a little bit of space. So even, putting an SD card in this phone isn't necessary so long as that you're fine accessing most of your photos from the cloud rather than having them stored on the device. Typical swipe down, this is a very vanilla Android experience. There isn't a whole lot added here. Motorola does a good job of not really getting in the way with Motorola stuff. You have basically just a really simple Motorola theme overlay on this phone, or launcher, whatever you want to call it. Swipe up to get to your apps, just like you typically would. You've got the Moto. This is my father-in-law's phone, which is why it says Kevin. I just got done setting up this phone for him. So you have your Moto actions that give you a little bit of cool things for the phone, Moto display actions as well. What I like about this is that it gives Android just a few additional little features that I really like the ability to basically shake your phone twice and have that light turn on, shake it twice again to have that turn off. That's such a nice feature for enabling your flashlight. On the iPhone, I can just tap and hold and get my camera light turned on or whatever for a flashlight. But bam, you're on. 2 shakes and it's done. That's really great because then you're not fiddling around with it in the dark or trying to make sure your thumb's in the right place. You don't even have to worry about how you're holding your phone. I like that about this phone. It's easy to get into other modes such as the camera. The camera is pretty decent as we just got done looking. Other than that, it has your basic phone app, basic Android messages. It's nice and clean and nothing really crazy there. You've got your Google integrated here for your Google search. And then also you can get Google Assistant so that you can give it the okay, and then that launch phrase that goes ahead and opens that up. And so you can do that as long as your screen is unlocked here. So pretty cool indeed. It has a fingerprint scanner, and the thing that kind of became a little bit of a challenge for me is that the fingerprint scanner, it's not your home button. So if you're in an app, so say we're in the Play Store or whatever, tapping on the fingerprint scanner does nothing for me. I have to tap up here to the home button, which it's taking me a little getting used to because I'm on the iPhone. Or I'm on my Pixel. The Pixel, obviously, the fingerprint reader is on the back, so it doesn't really confuse me being up front here. So that took a couple of seconds to kind of get used to. But what's cool about it though is that once you have your fingerprint registered, you can tap and hold to turn off the screen and tap and hold to turn it back on, which is very nice because then you're not fiddling around for your lock button on the side. I like that. That's kind of a nice little added feature. And then, of course, in the Moto actions, you can do one button nav, which is going to allow you to use the fingerprint sensor to navigate. And so that's probably, for like web browsing and stuff like that, you can use that to scroll, kind of like it's a scroll wheel, which I think is a great use of having a fingerprint scanner there. If you're going to have a fingerprint scanner here on the front of the phone, you might as well make it do a couple different things, and Motorola definitely did that here. So other things about this phone, it has a 3000 milliamp battery, so it's going to last you quite a long time. Android obviously is a pretty lightweight, especially without all the extra stuff loaded on this phone. No bloatware or anything like that. 3000 milliamp battery is definitely going to get you through the day. It has a nice aluminum backing here, so it's a nice solid phone, where a lot of phones these days are going glass front and back because of the wireless charging. You don't have to worry about that here. Especially if you don't care about the wireless charging, you've got a nice solid phone, so you don't have to worry so much about it. The camera does protrude, so a person like me would probably put a case on it, just because there isn't a whole lot of additional raised, kind of bevel here on the camera hump that is going to protect your lens, your camera lens, from potentially getting scratched or nicked. So I would probably put a case on the phone just to protect it. Has a headphone jack in the top. I know previous versions of this phone would have the headphone jack in the middle. I always found that kind of annoying. I liked having it off to the side. And then, of course, we're still rocking the micro USB charger on the bottom, but this is Motorola's version of Quick Charge. So as long as you use the included cable that it came with and the plug, you're going to get that Quick Charge, or, of course, any accessory that supports a higher amps, watts, whatever it is, that can get you that quick charge. It's got a down-firing speaker right here, which is a little tinny. It's not the best quality speaker, but it does get relatively loud. I tested it during a live stream, so if you want to check that out, I'll link to the live stream video, which was the unboxing and initial thoughts of this phone. I didn't plan on doing a review of it, which is why I'm referencing that live stream. But I really like this phone, as I used it a little bit more yesterday, and then was talking with my father-in-law about it, and then brought it back to the office to get it activated, get a new SIM card in it, and all that good stuff. I really like this phone. I mean, for anybody who is wanting a solid Android phone, a great Android experience, and you don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on these flagship models that really don't have too many more useful features, like, this is a fantastic phone. It has an HD screen, so it's not, super high resolution, but the DPI is really good. The clarity here is really nice. Let me grab now my Pixel. So we've got my Pixel here, and the screen. Let me turn the screen brightness up on the Pixel, because it's not up all the way like it is on this phone. I didn't have this one up all the way either. So let's go all the way up just so that you can compare. So you're seeing them side by side right now. One could say maybe, if you really look closely, there's more detail in the Pixel XL, which I would hope. I mean, this phone cost about as much as 3 of these phones, maybe 3.5 of them. So there's a little bit, better quality image on the Pixel XL, but the quality of the image on this Moto G5S is really, really nice. Let's take a look at how fast these phones unlock. I'm going to switch hands here because I only have the fingerprint registered on my right hand here. So I'm going to get my fingers nice and close and ready to go here, and so, it's hard to say because this had a slower animation than this did. So that's pretty close tie right there as far as how fast the fingerprint would unlock each of these phones. I would say that the Moto G was faster because the animation was faster, but they both unlock really fast. The only thing that I think would make a faster unlock experience is if the fingerprint scanner was on the back. The fingerprint scanner being on the back means that when you you're pulling your phone out of your pocket, you can automatically have your finger there. Whereas the fingerprint scanner being down here, I mean, you could see there, like, I almost dropped it on the table. You have to have the phone securely in your hand before you can unlock it, just because it's so far down towards the bottom. So, a lot of phones now are coming, with super small bezels all the way around the display. This one does have a decent sized bezel going around it. But I mean, hey, all the iPhones that are sub, I guess sub $900 are having bezels as well. So this is $250, $280 phone right here. Not too bad. So needless to say, this phone is not for everyone. If you are wanting a phone, let's actually take a look before we get totally off of the unlocking. So I'm going to go ahead. Both of these phones are off right now because the iPhone being a slightly different experience, I can pick up the iPhone and it will automatically unlock to my face. If I pick up this phone, I obviously have to fingerprint unlock it. So let's just kind of take a look at that. I pick up both phones. So it's 2 steps really to get into an iPhone. So it takes a little bit longer to get into an iPhone than it does this Motorola. Yeah, that's just is Face ID really worth it kind of thing? We're not going to discuss that here in this video, but anyways, I wanted to do a review of this phone and give you more of my kind of opinion on it because it really is the best phone that you can get for the money. My parents and my wife's parents rock devices like this because they're good price and they have lots of features. And if you want to save a little bit more money on this phone, you could check out the link that I have in the description below. If you buy this on Amazon, they have an ad-supported version, which comes with some Amazon ads on it, and you can actually save a little money there. For those of us who shop on Amazon anyways, the ad experience isn't really that big of a deal. You can spend a little bit more money and get it without the ads, but nonetheless, I think that the price savings, even on top of that, the already good price of the phone, is worth it because Amazon's giving you ads that are catered to you that they would have given you in the Amazon app anyway, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. So overall, this phone's fantastic. It's well worth the money. I've outfitted a couple of my family members with, Moto G devices, and they absolutely love them. And when it's time to upgrade, we upgrade to another Moto G. If I didn't have the Pixel phone and I wanted to have an Android phone just for the sake of having an Android phone, I would go with this because it's just such a great phone for the price. So like I said, links are down in the description below. There's a little bit more information, including some photos of the device, over at stateoftech.net. I'll make sure to link to that in the description below as well. If you have any questions, any thoughts, anything at all, ask in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer them. You can also check out the unboxing and initial thoughts live stream, which I'll link below as well. I'm going to try and do some more of those live streams because it's a lot of fun, and especially when people join in and we start chatting about the devices. So that's going to do it for this review of the Moto G5S, one of the greatest phones for the price, actually probably the greatest phone for the price. Definitely check it out. Links are in the description. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel. If you want to be notified when I put out new videos, click the little bell next to the subscribe button so that you get notified, and I hope to see you back here soon on State of Tech.